folks, it's me, Rob, here with another unboxing video. I have just gotten my hands on a copy of the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Essentials box set. And, I've championed the usage of these starter sets for people who want to introduce a group to a game and want the ideal vehicle to do it. And with this set, you should have everything you need to start people on the path of learning about 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, how it works, how to play it, how the characters work, all in one neat box. So I'm going to open this up and go through all the things and kind of explain so that if you have your expectations, you can understand what this is. This is the Essentials kit. Basically, it's similar to the starter kit that came out a few years back. This just has a refreshed adventure, and we'll see together what the other things are that are in there. So, let's take a look. Alright, here we have the Essentials kit. Opening it up, this is for 2 to 6 players to comfortably start learning the game. And as it says, everything you need to create characters and play new adventures in this introduction to the world's greatest role-playing game. The arrogance of that statement makes me chuckle a little bit, but hey, they kind of deserve to be arrogant. They do legitimately have their place at the top of the pile. Now we have a set of adventuring dice. These are, commonly what you would see. This is a set with 4 6-sided dice, so that'll help for character creation. There's a pair of 20-sided dice, very useful if you're going to get multiple attacks and the like. 12-sided die, percentile dice, which are 2 10-sided dice. An 8-sided die, somewhere. Yep, right here. 8-sided die, a 4-sided die, and of course the 4 6-sided dice. So all the dice that you would need. They are, for all intents and purposes, pretty plain. Soft pouch. And they are clear plastic. None of the swirly. They're translucent. I like the red color. So this is pretty much a complete set that you could use even after, you've played for a little bit. So, nice dice. Alright, we have the Dragon of Icespire Peak Adventures. This would be the analog to the Lost Mines of Phandelver from the starter set. This is a bound little adventure. Nice pictures and art. It has, of course, pictures of the various monsters and internal maps. But again, I'm not really expecting to see this have full color maps to play in. Now this has a little press box, which is cool. Which you can fold together for a deck of cards. Cool. We have our initiative counters. That's kind of cool. So what you can do for initiative, I'm guessing, is shuffle these and hand them out, give everybody an order, or after you've figured out what everybody's initiative order is, you put these cards in front so they can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's fair. That's probably how you would use it. These are condition counters. Restrained, prone, poisoned, unconscious, stunned, magical charm. And these talk about all the different things that the effects cause. This is actually brilliant. This is something that they should sell separately. And the magic charm is an effect that can take place particularly in here. And the 3 cards on the bottom are your combat step-by-step. Talking about all the different levels of combat, so you can put that in front of people and they can appreciate, how to conduct combat if they've never done it before. We have the other combat effects on these cards. Deafened, charmed, blinded, frightened, grappled, incapacitated, petrified, paralyzed, invisible. I want to be able to use these without having the Essentials kit. I can use those on their own, which is cool. We have art for NPCs. All these different characters and their names. On the back, statistics for all of them. These characters are Donabella Fiasco, Galandro Luna, Inverna Nightbreeze, Nib Addlespur, Pickled Pete, Quinn Hightopple, Ruby Hammerwhacker, Shanian Quan, and Talon Thornwild. So, nice evocative names. We have magical items. Potions of healing, potions of superior healing, potions of water breathing, sending stones, wand of pyrotechnic, all kinds of fun stuff, including a few minor items. Even more magical items. So we will be folding and breaking apart all of these to be able to give out to the players. Handouts like these are great for starter sets. They let people understand what's in their hand and refer to these rather than just write them down on a character sheet and go. So these are more magical items, including, I see, a Dread Helm, a number of minor magical items, which is cool. Since they brought those out in, I believe it was Xanathar's Guide to Everything, I've become a real fan of minor magical items, and I think they're a great thing to give out to players, along with, you know, low-level magic. And we have a couple of +1 weapons, including specialized abilities for some of them, which is neat. So, yeah, that's cool. There's a whole selection of these minor magical items. Now we have quests. Different quests that you can give the players and give them a handout so that they can refer to and understand what they need to be doing. Help remind them of details. We have the rule book for the Essentials kit. This is a bit more substantial than the basic set of rules that came with the starter set. Glossy, pretty durable. And this is a nice little guide on how to play Dungeons and Dragons. All the different rules, the different races that are available. Not all of them. Quick sum up of dwarves, halflings, humans. That's it. So if you want all of them, you're going to need to get the player's handbook. But this is a sampling. Character classes, you have bards. They introduced bards in this one. The bards were not in the starter set. It was just the fighter, magic user, cleric, thief. Cleric rogue, I should say. So they have the bard and what the bards can do. And just one of the both colleges, lore and valor. Wow. Cleric. So this is a more robust, by far, than what the starter set had. So far it's much better value. They only talk about the life domain and war domain of clerics, so obviously they're not going to have every path and every feature. And we also then go into fighter. So we're skipping some classes. Rogue. And a wizard. So we're missing sorcerers and warlocks and druids, and yeah, that's fine. There's still a lot of information in this. And while I wouldn't say, oh, and they have multiple arcane traditions rather than just the evoker. So, yeah, I'm already a big fan. They give a couple of backgrounds so that you can choose between a couple of things and make your own characters. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Playing the game. These are all your core rules that you would want, including things like resting and so forth. And your adventuring gear. That's a very nice little sheet to refer to. Boy, that might be preferential to going through a couple of minor magical items, too. Little descriptions. Spells. Very, very thin selection of spells if you consider how many spells are available. Oh, and sidekicks, too. Expert, warrior, spellcaster. Neat. Proficiencies. Alright, this is a nice sum up with some real choices that it gives you, which so far is superior to the starter set. And we have a screen. Ooh, look at that. White dragon, adventurers strolling through, eventually coming out into this beautiful arrangement with the dragon. Very cool. And on the back, again, being very useful as a DM screen, all of the information that a DM would want at a quick glance. I suspect these are most of the tables that you are going to find on the main DM screen that you can, well, there's so many DM screens that they've made with different art on the front, but yeah, very cool. I always love the conditions on there to explain. That's usually the thing that I need to refer to more than anything. To everything that is depicted in, say, restrained. What does that mean? Well, restrained means that your speed is 0, attacks against you have advantage, your attacks are disadvantage, and you have disadvantage on dexterity saves. And that's all restrained means. You can still attack, you can still do things, even if you are restrained. But very cool. It's a decent screen. I don't use screens all that much these days, but it's nice to have as an option. And then we have character sheets. These are a blank character sheet. Nope, they're all blank. This does not come with pre-gens. I see that as kind of a weakness. I mean, they let you make your characters, which is cool. They give you all the different choices that you might want in the book. I got that. That's cool. So this is a little bit more involved of a means of teaching you how the game works. And I do think that there is something special about making your first character and actually making the character yourself. But, you know, 6 blank character sheets are fine. I do like pre-gen characters for starter sets. So the DM can make all the characters if they want to, but it doesn't come with pre-gens, which is, I thought, one of the strengths of the starter set. Welcome Adventurer, showing all the things that you can get. Learn to Play, the main books, expanding your world, all those wonderful extra books that you can get. And then D&D Beyond, including 50% off of the digital version of the Player's Handbook on D&D Beyond. Yes, if you go to D&D Beyond, you have to buy all of your books over again, which is one thing a grudge I will hold to D&D Beyond. They don't have any way of giving you a massive break if you already own the physical copies, which I think is stupid. But you get the digital version of this adventure on D&D Beyond with that product code, which is cool. And no, you can't have my product. If you see my product, I don't care. Somebody's going to swipe it. And then a digital version of the Player's Handbook at 50% off, which means it's only going to cost you $25. And then accessing additional adventure content to continue to play Dragons of Icespire's Peak through higher levels of play. There's a QR code, which is cool. I like having additional add-ons. And then we have a map. Nice glossy of the Sword Coast. This goes from... let's see. Phandalin is right here. Okay. There's Phandalin, which if you've played, Dragon, Lost Mines of Phandelver, Phandalin comes in on that. Icespire Peak, which is where this adventure is going to take place. That's in the Sword Mountains. We have the coastal road skirting the Mirror of Dead Men. If you continue to follow that, you would eventually come to Waterdeep. The Crypt Garden Forest. Dominating the middle of the map, you have the Neverwinter Wood. And of course, Neverwinter is right here on the coast. As you can't see, it's right there. There's the Neverwinter Wood. So there's a bit of a gap if you wanted to go through out to the Star Metal Hills. And you have Mount Hotno, the volcano that exploded and caused ruin to Neverwinter and the surrounding area. Obviously, it's recovered quite well, but that lava flow damage is still tracked. And then you have the Crags, which is a nasty place to adventure. But this is a good map of the Sword Coast. And again, if you use a lot of the Adventure Path quests, they take place in that general area, so you will continue to use those maps. So those are the resources that come with this set. I have to say, the Essentials Kit is a wonderful little guide on how to start playing D&D. It's not everything, Obviously, you'd want to expand on that, but it's not bad. These cards will be a joy to break apart, put into the storage box, so that I will have those cards to use during a game. The dice are nice. The adventure might be good. This is just a first impression, so I'm not critiquing the Dragon of Icespire Peak yet. At some point I will, but that's not today. So that will be cool to look at. Starting off against a white dragon at low levels is going to be tough, so it'll be interesting to see how they do that. But yeah, it should be fun. So that's the Essentials kit. Back to me. So, the Essentials kit. It is a nice little starter for people to find out how to play Dungeons & Dragons in its 5th iteration. It has some strengths, giving the users more details about your game and a few extra choices on how to play rather than just 4 basic classes with their most basic paths. Giving you a little bit more option is, I think, a general good. Although not a huge leap. Obviously, only having a couple of paths per class doesn't give you a tremendous range of choice, but it is a bigger range of choice, which I have to applaud from the basic set. Also, the bound rule book I think is good. The basic set that came with the starter set was a little flimsier, although the paper was fine. The bound adventure is cool. Again, they could have really come out with some maps. Having maps and cut-out miniatures or fold miniatures could have given your players something to feel more tactile about, where you can actually see the adventure folding out in front of you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, using your imaginations and describing everything. That's perfectly fine. Or even drawing thumbnail sketches or using other materials like battle mats and the like. But if you want to have an all-in-one inclusive set, I think that's a plus. I also think that pre-generated characters would have been a strength. I liked the pre-gens that came with The Lost Mines of Phandelver, with the characters already threaded into that story, having motivations that would drive them to continue along. I think that's really useful and a clever way of showing what your characters are capable of in character generation. How you can thread things through without having to worry about a Session 0 exhaustive backstory. Nope, it's all taken care of by having your characters, if you're playing them right, automatically have a stake in seeing the adventure through to its end. That, I think, is a good idea. This is good on the general principle that it gives you a guided walkthrough on how to make your characters, but honestly, from what I glanced at, it doesn't look that much easier than the player's handbook, just opening it up and going to it. Piece of cake for somebody like me who's been playing role-playing games for decades. Not so much for a person starting out for the first time. Those pre-generated characters are kind of handy to have. So, just something to think about if you're considering which of these to get for your first time. The dice are certainly nice. Those cards are a huge boon. Big plus for their side. Honestly, when you have a resource like that you can use beyond the starting set, if you're going to continue on, I'm going to tear those apart and I'm going to use those in any other 5th edition games that I run, because those statuses are useful. If you want to give somebody a reminder, hey, you're poisoned, and slap that card in front of them so they can refer immediately to what their condition is, that's brilliant. That is something that should be available by Wizards of the Coast without this kit. And it's almost, I'm not going to say it's a value that's worth the set by itself. It's a $25 set normally. I didn't pay that, but it normally was $25. And you consider it's about $8 for the dice. You get the rule book, which is probably about another $5 to $8. The adventure is a $10 value, I'd say at least. The map is nice. Those cards, though, those cards are very, very nice. Now, the magical items are specifically going to be the magical items in this story, so it's not going to give you all of the different magical items that you could get. If you have a taste for that, they have actually, well, they sell the magic item decks. So you could get that if you wanted it. And my DM does, and he has given out those cards already. So we've seen them. They're nice, certainly. I've got one for my character for the Tome of Clear Thought that he's got. Giving those out without having to buy that extra deck, nice. The quests, kind of nice. I didn't get a good look at them to see how how much information there is. I'm hoping there's a decent amount. Those could be very useful. Hopefully they don't give out too much information. I doubt they would. Probably just the basic hooks that got you onto the quest in the first place. And yeah, the initiative thing is probably going to be kind of useful. At the very least, it could be nice to kind of let the players kind of strategize about who's going at what point so they know when their turn is coming up, or they know, hey, he's going to move before him, so I'm going to want to prioritize helping him to get the most benefit out of it, so he'll benefit from that too. Sure, that could be useful in a variety of ways to help the meta, but what really is effectively the players seeing through their characters' eyes and are reminded in something that the characters might be trained to look for and plan, especially those who are used to buffing or reacting to other people. So all in all, the Essentials kit, a very good value, especially if you can find it for less than full ticket price. I found mine at, I'm not going to tell you where, but as far as the store, Concentric Rings. That you might, like, shoot at. Yeah, you'll get it. I got it for about 15. So, great value, great value. So pluses. A nice overall overland map, not bad. It has a good, solid set of rules. Not the whole player's handbook, but enough to get you started and feel like you can really get going. I think it had like 8 levels of advancement, which is nice. Much better than the basic set did. It has those cards. The cards are huge value right there. Very nice. Character sheets. Blank character sheets. Okay. Not bad. But okay. A box for your cards. Cool. All in all, great value if you can get it for less than $25. Solid value if you get it for $25. I would say a little bit of a bargain for everything that comes inside of it, considering all the things you can do with it. But if you're already going to go and then buy the other books, that value diminishes somewhat. Obviously, you'll have access to more character choices, more magical items, more of everything when you get the core Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monstrous Manual. The monsters that come in there are certainly only going to be a thin slice of what you'll eventually have access to if you get the other books. And yes, if you pay full sticker price, that's $150. I don't think very many people are paying full price anymore, though I see deep, deep deals on the core books online. I think Amazon is currently selling them on average about $32 now. So you can get the 3 books for about $100 in most realms. And again, for as much as you can play, it's a one-time expense that over time becomes an incredible value considering how much certain hobbies can cost you. This set versus the starter set. I like some of the things the starter set did better than this. I liked the pre-generated characters especially. Neither set comes with in-adventure maps. Unfortunate, because I think that's a good strength when you can do that. I even had some demo games that came with those kind of maps. So I know that Wizards of the Coast knows that it's a good thing to have them in, but they chose not to for their value. Okay, that's fine, I guess. But that would have pushed the value up quite a bit. Likewise, paper miniatures. Even that big box set I have of the Dungeons and Dragons starter game, that basically looks like a board game, came with a ton of paper folding miniatures, and it had several layout maps that you could use. This set could have used that, but it didn't. Okay, we'll move forward. Even if it's not going to teach you how to use miniatures, which, again, kind of natural, you would expect that it would then start to push sales, get people used to the idea of paying too much money for little pre-painted plastic miniatures that they also sell. But I guess that puts the need right there front and center for you. If you're curious, the new, well, it's not even the newest one anymore, but the Icons of the Realms Mythic Odyssey is a Theros. Cool miniatures. I got this flame mane lion, which is absolutely enormous. Looks like the Nemean lion from the Trials of Hercules. I got the Nyx fleeced ram, which looks kind of evil. And I got a pair of elemental nymphs. I don't use a lot of nymphs, so they're cool. A fire nymph and a kind of a darkling nymph. So, yeah, pretty cool. Miniatures are fun, and they add a nice element to the game, a little more tactical side to it. But it's not required, and they kind of show that with not including all of that in the set. I would have to give the nod to the Essentials kit, if you're going to choose between the two of them. The Essentials kit has a nice touch that it is far more flexible with what you do with it. Yes, you make up your own characters, but you can tailor those characters to just what you want. It doesn't necessarily give you as much of a running start into the module, but at the same time it lets the players pick how they're going to approach the module. If everybody wants to play a different type of fighter, for instance, they have an option for doing that to some limited extent in this version. You know, they can play more than just an evoker wizard. I saw a couple different schools of that. So that, I think, is a benefit this set has. The cards, though, push it over the top. Again, it's a resource that you can use well after you've put the Essentials kit behind you. I'm going to use these in 5th edition. I might not use them tomorrow when my group gets together again, because that's a different DM, and, you know, he brings his own things to the table. But I'll have them nearby in case I need to remind myself, if I get a status effect, what that's going to mean to me. So, yeah, that's going to be really useful. I'm really kind of excited about all of that, so... But anyhow, that's my impressions of the Essentials kit. Very nice. If you get a chance at one, especially if you see it on discount, and you're interested, and even if you're not, and you're looking for a new adventure, it might be a nice thing if you're going to be bringing new people into the game. I suspect that the adventure is probably balanced pretty well. I think they spoil things a little bit, though. You know, you put a big white dragon right out in the front. You know what the final fight's going to be. It's kind of a little silly. But I'm impressed with the value. I think it's a good buy. So that's my final take on it. If you agree, great. If you don't, you think I'm off my rocker, go ahead and leave a comment below, especially if you've played the materials from the Essentials kit. And, you know, give me your review. What do you thought of it? So, thank you for joining me. Until next time, I am Rob, here in the Lair of OmnusI. I will see you very soon with another video, next time I crawl in front of the camera. Thank you, and farewell.